The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 206.
206.
What are we talking about today?
This is The Company You Keep Matters.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Very much.
Cool. Well, before we do that, anything you want to talk about from last week, which was our anniversary episode?
Yes, it sure was. And so that makes this episode the first episode of season 5.
The new season.
The new season. We'll only say that once. We say that every year. We'll only say that once.
Yes.
Season 5. Cool. Anyways, if you remember, I did a reading for Crystal during that episode and her grandma Lorraine. So Here's her feedback. She says, "Girlfriend, you are so good. So good. My grandma Lorraine was a very serious woman, raised Catholic and an old school RN in the Navy. My family's pretty hilarious and she would laugh at our jokes, but she would never make them. Very religious. She did want to look nice every single day. She always put on her lipstick and got ready. She definitely wanted everyone, including family, to think she had everything together. There definitely was a coldness about her, and it's something her children reflect on. She was more affectionate with me than she was with them, and my aunt, her daughter, has told me that it did make her jealous because she didn't have that growing up. And even with me, it wasn't even that physically affectionate, to be honest. She never wanted children. My grandfather did, and he died in Vietnam. Good Catholic girl at that time, got married and had children. She definitely resented the entire situation and was actually honest about that. And she was a Midwest girl. Good call, Danny. Mm-hmm. She was from Kansas. I'm not sure if a diary was found, but I will ask my aunt. I'll PM you what I found. Thank you so much. You literally blew my mind. Thank you. And once again, happy anniversary. Can't wait for the big move adventure." Thank you so much, Crystal. I love to read the feedback on this. Is always fun. So, okay, and then every week we answer 2 questions. The first question this week is from Crystal as well. She says, "I hear some mediums and ghost hunters talk about souls being stuck here on Earth after a traumatic death and needing help to cross over. Does this actually ever happen?" I think it does, but I think that it's dramatized. Like, I don't think that it's as bad as what people think it is. I think it happens a lot of times when a person dies suddenly, murdered or something like that. Like, we had a mass shooting here a few years back, and going there, I could feel the heaviness there. You know, you can feel that there's something there, but it didn't feel like they were stuck there to me. Like, that didn't even occur to me. It felt like they were already gone and on the other side, and that was a very traumatic experience. Right. But I have talked to some spirits that have said that they have stayed for a while in this astral plane, which is the level basically between here and heaven, the first level of heaven. It's like, I don't even know how you would explain it. It's where those souls go and where the souls that aren't ready to move on yet. But I think they move pretty quickly, you know?
Yeah, I think there's always a guide that comes along and finally says, hey, you know.
Yeah.
This isn't where you're really supposed to be. I mean, you can stay here if you want, but it's not going to serve you any purpose.
I think this happens a lot of times, too, with suicides, that sometimes people attempt suicide without really meaning to go through with it. And those people especially get stuck in this, no, I didn't mean to do it. And they have to be convinced, you know, it's okay to let go now. You know, it's all right. You're not going back. It's okay. Your family's there. And yes, always a guide, always somebody with you. So it's not like there's just souls floating around there, you know, ghosts, woo, like those types of things. No. And I don't think that we like keep them stuck here. I've had a lot of people that have asked me, Betty, she's on one.
Jeez.
If you're going to be here for the show, then you can't get mad at us for talking.
No heckling the talent.
Yeah, she doesn't like the TV. She doesn't like us talking, but she comes in here for the show. Anyways, lost my train of thought. But I think I was talking about how they don't stay there for long.
No.
You know, it's just a temporary stop, and then they move on.
exactly.
Because you realize it's okay.
Yeah, nobody gets left behind here.
No, definitely not. So hope that answers your question, Crystal. And I know that there's a lot of the like ghost hunters and stuff that think a lot deeper about this, but I think that it's really actually very simple. We make this stuff really more complicated than it needs to be, but it's not complicated at all. It's really simple.
Right.
The next question is from Chanel. She asked, is the wind alive? Like, can spirits come to you in the form of wind? I thought you'd like that question. That's kind of a mind bender a little bit.
I think that everything on this earth is alive. Mm-hmm. I think it all has not the same level of consciousness, but everything that's living has some level of consciousness.
Yes. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And I do think that like spirits and stuff, the universe can somewhat control the wind. It is a kind of energy. I remember when, shortly after my mom passed, within the first 6 months, I went to the cemetery with her best friend. And her best friend was going there like every week and putting different things for her. And she mentioned to me that she could make the pinwheels move. Like she could ask my mom to make the pinwheels move. And she proved it to me that she could. And she would say, Linda, move the pinwheel to the right. And it would start spinning. But you would feel that little gust of air that came along with it. So there's definitely some kind of control there, I think, that they have.
Well, I mean, and the fact of all these ancient cultures, on our planet that practiced, things like rain dances and weather type of dances, if those weren't successful, why the heck would they be so deep rooted into a society's, traditions or ceremonies? If it was like, you guys, we're kind of wasting our time here, this isn't working, we do a lot of dancing for rain, we get no rain,
right?
If that was the case, that wouldn't be something they did,
right? I
think us as humans can alter that if we consciously together, it's a much stronger as a collective or a group of energy than just one little spark of energy.
I absolutely
So if you consider each one of us one little spark, you put a bunch of sparks together, now you have a significant amount of energy.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So hope that answers your question, Chanel. That was a good one.
Chanel.
Yeah, very different.
That is a good one, yeah.
Okay, then let's do a reading. This one is a psychic reading. I love to do these. This is from Nancy. She said, I would like a reading if possible. I have surrendered to the universe, although I'm actively manifesting a forever partner. I am trying not to have anxiety surrounding the future, but it's a complicated situation. I'm currently in a relationship, not to a horrible guy, but I do know that he's not my soulmate. So I think that they actually broke up. So this, she requested this reading quite a while ago in March. And I'm just getting back to them. Like, there's a whole bunch that are waiting to be done. So I think that they have broken up. So I'm going to stop here. And I'm going to just not read the rest of what she wrote, but do the reading for her. And because I know, pretty much what's going on here with this situation. So,
but you don't know if they really broke up.
I think they did break up. But I will confirm that with her. But I'm just going to go with that because I'm pretty sure that that's what happened.
Intuitively, you mean?
I believe she told me that they broke up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I can't remember. So anyways, because I have done readings for her in the past, and we both know that this was not the guy for her. Like, that was already settled. But I think what she was talking about is that she believes that somebody else is her soulmate from her past. And that this guy's married to somebody else now, and so it's not possible, and the universe is giving her signs of this. So that's where I'm going to go with this reading instead of going the way it was going to go, is what's going on with your love life? Where is this going from here? Because it has advanced since you requested this reading. So what I really feel like the universe is trying to say to you is that it's time to just let it be for a little while. Let it be, come out of this relationship and just sit with this for a while. Don't obsess over it. Don't worry about it. Don't think it's never going to come to you, because the fact is that the universe is trying to line something up for you, but you're overthinking and pushing it away. And I totally get this because I do this on different subjects myself, where it's like you just obsess over it and it's like, but I have to know how this is going to go and where it's going to go from here and all of those questions that go through your head. But the fact is you're not going to know. Even with a psychic telling you, you're still not going to know exactly when and where and how and all of those questions. But there is love coming for you, but you have to be able and open to receiving it. And I think you're hooked on the fact that you already know this person that is your soulmate. And the fact is we have a lot of soulmates in our life. Like, just because you are with somebody and then you get a divorce, you break up, that doesn't mean that person wasn't your soulmate. It just means that your soul contract with that person is up and you're moving on to somebody else. Like my ex-husband, Danny's ex-wife, we're all soulmates. It's just a part of how this works, as weird as that may sound. But it was over. The contract between Danny and his ex-wife and between me and my ex-husband, it was over. And so now we have the contract and we're soulmates, and we've always been soulmates, but we didn't know that.
Right.
Because there's so many. You have so many soulmates. So what I'm trying to say is...
Yeah, there couldn't just be one.
No.
For each person.
No, because then could you imagine... Well, I mean... And really to think that way too, then that makes you feel like the people that you've been with in the past were mistakes. And they're not mistakes because you learned from it. Or if somebody was
taken from you tragically early, that means there's nobody else?
Yeah.
For the rest of your life? No.
Yeah, and it's not just, like spouses and lovers and stuff like that. When we went to see Thomas John, one of the first things he said about my mom was, would it make sense for me to say that you and your mom are soulmates? And absolutely we are. Not in that way, like how you and I are,
right.
But in a different way.
Right.
So you have a lot of different types of soulmates and people that'll come in and out of your lives and will play a role and all of those things. But I really feel like the person that you're supposed to live out the rest of your life happily with you have not met this person yet.
I don't know why, but I'm just going to share this because I heard Iowa.
Iowa? I don't remember where she lives, but I think it's Florida or somewhere on that coast.
Maybe this person's from Iowa. I don't know.
I have such a horrible
That just
memory.
popped in my head and I was like, why did I hear Iowa? But maybe that has nothing to do with it.
Well, we'll see. Maybe. You never know. This is how you learn. Because if you don't throw those things out, you'll never know. And now she can tell you, like, oh, no. Or
right.
When this person comes along, they might be from Iowa. But right now, the universe just wants you to relax. It wants you to understand that it's in control, that it will bring you who you're supposed to have at the right time. But right now isn't the right time. You're pushing the possibilities away because you're trying to push other things to happen. So you're trying to kind of use free will to think that it's somebody that it's not, is my feeling on it. So I know that this guy that she thinks from the past is the soulmate that is coming for the future. One of the reasons she thinks that is because he fits the description of what myself and other mediums have told her about this guy.
Right.
But I do not feel like it is this guy. There's, many people that can fit that description. So just hold on.
Yeah.
It's going to come in the right time, at the right time for you. Now is just not the right time. You need to get through this relationship, letting go of this, heal from it, learn from it, and then the new guy can come in. And I heard sweep you off your feet. So should be good.
Well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there exciting. You go, Nancy. So you'll have to keep us informed of how that's going.
Thanks, Nancy.
Yay, thank you, Nancy. And then let's give our info before we start the episode. Okay. So you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. I have a radio show that airs every Wednesday on VoiceAmerica.com on the Empowerment Channel called Beyond the Bridge. You can also listen to the on-demand after it comes out, like a couple hours after the episode airs live. You can find that on Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Cool.
And then you, sir.
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And I did want to announce the winner of my drawing that I offered in honor of our anniversary and support of all our listeners.
Yay.
So I'm going to announce that right now.
Do it.
It is, and I think I'm saying this, Mikey Ruddick.
I think it's Mickey.
Mickey? Okay, yeah. Mickey Ruddick. You are the proud new owner of, by your request, the boss, Bruce Springsteen.
Nice.
So please allow a few weeks. I typically say 4 to 6 weeks for, production and shipping and delivery, but I doubt it would take that long, but just allow for a few weeks at least.
Yeah, yay, how exciting.
And thanks for participating. That's really cool.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate that, Mickey.
Very cool.
All right, that's it for me.
All right, awesome.
All right, then, episode 206, The Company You Keep Matters.
That it does. And do you know really why the biggest reason why it matters? It's because the energy of people that we surround ourselves with is contagious. Mm-hmm. It will influence how you see yourself, how you see life, what you believe is possible. It can influence you in so many different ways, the type of people that you hang out with.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever notice how hanging out with a positive, upbeat person can actually lift your mood? Mm-hmm. You might even look forward to, like, hanging out with somebody that's upbeat, you know? Sometimes, like, I try and really be positive all the time, and I know sometimes it gets on people's nerves, and they're probably like, oh, I don't want to hang out with her because she's positive all the time. But, you know, on the other side, I hope that it helps to make them, you know, when I hang out with people, to be more positive, because I don't like that when you're out with people or whatever and they're just like Debbie Downers, you know. Right. There was this one time, my best friend Allison, I was living in Vegas and she invited me to come out to go to Disneyland, and that's like my favorite place, right? And when I lived in Vegas, I didn't get to go there that often. I was so excited, and then she told me that she was bringing somebody with her, a friend of hers, and I was like, that's, you know, it's all right. But they show up, and it's a male friend of hers that was going through a breakup, had just broken up with his girlfriend, and he moped his way through Disneyland all day. And it was such a bummer. Like, I did my best to be positive and stuff, and because I didn't know him, it really didn't matter all that much. But it's still like when somebody's in your group and they're like, meh, all the time, it really is a bummer, you know? It happens. But don't accept an invitation to Disneyland when you're going through a breakup and ruin everybody's day.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
It's like, why? You know.
You can't rain on the Main Street Parade.
No. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, talking to all of our listeners and you, although I think you've experienced this, is that when you spend enough time with somebody, you unconsciously become like each other. You make the same movements, you have the same expressions, you kind of mirror one another. So there's this theory that you are a combination of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So think about that for a second. Who are the 5 people that you...
There's 2.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this is why I keep my circle small. Pretty much talk to Danny and my sister, and, you know, besides clients and stuff, like, that's my 2 main people. And then, you know, Marina, but she's so busy, so it's not even really like we see her much. So yeah, it's like you guys, I'm like a combination of you guys and myself. I can see that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking just in general what attracts us to people to begin with, you know, and that's different for each of us.
Yeah.
But we were having that conversation in like the first 3 or 4 people of my friends that you met, and then like the first 3 or 4 people that of your friends that I met.
Yeah.
And I think I typically did look for people that were kind of, I don't want to say look for, that's the wrong term. I was just naturally gravitate towards people that were higher energy or on maybe a level of like funny comedy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was uplifting for me.
Yeah, that was definitely something that I noticed about you, is that you had a very unique assortment of eccentric friends. Yeah. And I don't say that in a bad way. They were all very, very different, right. Very interesting people that nobody I had ever met before, actually. So it's kind of cool, better than, you know, just being boring and that kind of thing. Right. But definitely I feel like when the spiritual awakening started, that we really started being more careful about who we allowed into our energy. And now it's at the point where it is really hard to let people into your world, into your energy, because they have a tendency to mess with it so much. Right. You know, it's difficult. You have to learn to control your energy in order to be around certain types of people so that you don't get depressed like them.
And then I was also talking to you earlier and kind of contemplating just overall how much does age have to do with this? Yeah. I think as we get older, a lot of us tend to want to have less drama. Yes. In our life. Yes. And unfortunately, as we all grow and change, some don't change, some do change, some grow up, some don't. Yeah. I just guess it really all depends on how you look at it. But I noticed that all of a sudden starts to affect how certain relationships work. Yes. Even some of the closest friends that all of a sudden start getting older. and they start drifting apart.
Yes.
I have noticed that there's been a combination of what you said, and that is being more careful, like what energy I put myself around, connect myself to. But just kind of lost my train of thought on that one. But the other side is just that lack. I don't need the drama.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So kind of thinning it for just that reason alone is okay for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as we get older, we start to learn what's more important for us. And for me, with the spiritual awakening and getting older, definitely I'm looking for peace. I'm looking for people that bring peace to my life. And that's not easy to find, because everybody has their drama. Everybody has their stuff. And it's not like I expect for people to not tell me their drama or anything. But there is, in a friendship, in a relationship, there has to be equal give and take. And that's something that I feel like is missing from a lot of friendships, is the give and take. And I've noticed that more since the spiritual awakening. Like, I'm more observant about that. Today I went, and my best friend Allison, her and her family are going to Canada, so I'm watching their birds, and I went over there to get the instructions from them, and she was so like inquisitive about our lives and just asking questions after questions, and most people don't do that. And it was actually really nice, and I was like, oh my god, I'm talking about myself, like it's weird, I don't want to talk about myself, but yeah, she even asked me, I told her, I was like, well, I gotta go because we're gonna do the podcast, and she said, what's your topic this week? And I said, I told her the company you keep matters. And she said, oh, that's funny, because there was a friend that we had many years ago, somebody that she introduced me to, who she said tried to have an interfriendship to...
I love that phrase.
Yeah. To basically tell her that her and I shouldn't be friends, when she's like, I was happy, and he was having an interfriendship for me because he didn't like that I was happy being friends with you. Right. People
Whom
are
she'd
weird.
been friends with you since like kindergarten?
7th grade, but still,
okay.
We've been friends a long
Elementary.
time.
I thought it was kindergarten. For
no, but it feels like it. We've known each other forever. So yeah, it's those types of things. It's like, why don't your other friends want you to be happy? These are all things to like think about when it comes to the people that are around you. Is like, I want people that are around me to be happy for me just as I am for them, not to feel jealous or intimidated or whatever, because then that makes you feel, not so great about yourself. Surrounding yourself with people that lift you up is really, really important. I agree. So I asked our listeners, if you've been through a spiritual awakening, did that awakening force you to change the company you keep? And 54% said, yes, I let go of unhealthy people. 13% said, yes, I found my tribe. 29% said, I am going through that currently. And 4% said, I haven't been through an awakening. But nobody said no.
Interesting fact about this, for me at least, is that you, whatever the percentage of people that your relationships change with as a result of your spiritual awakening is a very large percentage of that percentage requires no effort on your part whatsoever.
That's true.
They immediately see where you're going and where you're headed, and often will go the other way. Yes. Because for some reason, the light or the positivity or that particular energy kind of makes that particular person uncomfortable.
Yeah. And you know what? I get it. Like, I understand how some people must perceive us as like that crazy spiritual couple, and they're like, run. And that's okay. Yeah. I'm perfectly fine with that, because I full-heartedly believe in spirituality and I want to share it with people, and I don't shove it down their throats. But if you're friends with me, you're going to see my, stuff on Facebook, and you're going to see my spirituality stuff. And if you don't like it, well, sorry, but this is who I am. And like, we should all allow each other to be who we are. But for whatever reason, people want to like tell us who to be. And if it's not the little cookie cutter that they've made for us that we fit into, then bye. And that's okay. And people have a hard time with the that's okay part, with the they left and, why did they go? Well, one of the first things that I remember my mom telling me when I was kind of going through this shadow work is that, do you know how many billion people there are in this world? And not everybody's going to like you.
Nope.
The majority of them are not going to like you.
Right.
And you know what? That's okay.
Yeah, what was that thing you read me earlier?
Oh, no, what was it?
Something about the just breast and what was it that somewhere every time in the world when your name is mentioned,
oh, yeah,
somebody cringes.
Somebody gets pissed off because they said heard your name. Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you get down, just think there's somebody that cringes every time that they hear your name. Yeah, that's true. And that's sad.
It is, but that's kind of funny, too.
It is, yeah. But it's like, not everybody's going to like you, and you're not going to like everybody. And the whole point of this adventure, I think, in this area is to find our tribe. It is to find the people that we click with and not feel like we have to be involved with people that aren't like us and treat us wrong or whatever. There's so many listener stories. I'll read a few of them that make me sad, They do.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why does it have to be this way? Like, for example, okay, so I asked our listeners, do you have people in your life that you can see aren't good for you mentally, but you keep them around anyway? Lori said, my mother, but she lives in another state and I rarely see her. I talk to her occasionally and often I'm depressed by the time I get off the phone with her. I also have a lifelong friend who does live near me and she has some serious issues with drugs and her health, so I mostly stay away. We've known each other for 50 years, so it's hard to say no when she asks. I do love her and I feel bad and miss the person she used to be, but she drones on and on about how bad her life is and how her mother abused her, and so has every relationship she's ever been in. I've heard the same story now for 10 years. I have compassion for what she's been through, but it's hard when someone refuses to move on and make improvements. I become very anxious and agitated when I'm with her. I totally understand that, Lori. Absolutely. It is very frustrating. Very frustrating, especially when it's somebody that, you're close to and you love. And I have a very, she's not really a friend anymore, but somebody that I grew up with that it's the same kind of situation. She's into drugs, really went deep into drugs. And I had to let her go. And that was hard to just say, you know what, the drugs won. And I haven't talked to her in, God, I don't know how many years, but it really sucked to have to do that, But when you're going one way with your life and people are going another way with their lives, then sometimes that's just what has to happen, no matter how long they've been in your life.
Yeah, I had a very good friend that, we were inseparable for years, and drugs was a big part of it. And I still hear from them, occasionally, but it doesn't ever go any further. And I'll kind of throw that out there like, hey, let's get together.
Yeah.
Or they will too.
Yeah.
And then I try to pin down a time.
Yeah.
And it's like soon.
Yeah.
And you're just like, still doing that, huh?
Yeah.
So it sucks because you have these memories of a time that were impressionable on my mind, you know?
Absolutely.
But I have to remember that everything changes. It's ever changing.
Yes.
And so that, along with our bodies and our age and our geographic locations and our wellness and our minds, and there's so many variables to try to, when you sit down and go, why does it have to be like this? Well, there's a lot of reasons why.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Lori had mentioned her mother, and family is probably the number one.
Hardest, yeah.
Because for whatever reason, I think people feel obligated to this is my mother, this is my father, or my sibling, or whatever, and I have to stand by them because we're blood. But the fact is that you don't need to take abuse from other people just because they're your family or get sucked into their drama or whatever. It does suck when you have to tell a family member, I'm sorry, but I can't have a relationship with you. Yeah. I've had to do it many times, and it really sucks. Yeah. But if it's for your own mental health, then you have to think about yourself, because people always go, oh, that's selfish, You're thinking about yourself, not about the other person. But this is your life.
Yeah, this is your experience.
Yeah, it's not about them. Mm-mm. They can be who they want to be and ruin their own lives and be unhappy and miserable, but they don't need to do the same in your life, And there's some people that I'm convinced of, too, that don't even realize that they're doing it. that they just like, it's just who they are, and they just complain,
Right.
and they don't even realize that they're doing it. It's like,
For the longest time, it was hard for me to wrap my head around ideas of like something like narcissism,
Yeah.
And, how could that be an illness? People know exactly what they're doing. But then the more I start just kind of witnessing things in my own experience in life and growing up and people that I know, that we are so much like a product of our environment starting from such a young age.
Yes, we absolutely are.
That it is an illness, rightfully so, because you were kind of smothered in it.
Yeah.
Without really even knowing it.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of a trip too, like when you get older and you start to notice these things in people that you were close to. And, because when we're kids, we think that all these things are normal, like with our parents, if they're narcissistic or whatever. You don't notice it when you're a kid.
Because you don't know, you have nothing to base it or compare it to.
No.
It's what you're learning right out of the gate.
Exactly. So we had a question. Oh, did I not get the name of who this question's from? I don't think I did, but that's okay. The question is, Samantha, do we intentionally attract needy people, or do we emit an aura that attracts them? Reason I ask is I don't really want to talk to people when I go shopping. I love that. But yeah, people flock to me and just chat like how expensive this is, or do you know where the so-and-so aisle is? I can't help but be polite and nice. Would you like to tell the story about what happened yesterday? And the guy that came up to us? We have this happen all the time. I can't remember who this is from. I'm going to look. But yeah.
At the deli?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. We were leaving this deli in the valley, and I happened to park right in front of it. So we were getting in the Bronco and getting ready to leave, and this guy comes out of the front door, sort of intently, looking right at us, and he's like waving.
Yeah,
like
it was so
trying
weird.
to get my attention. So I'm like, okay. And I wave back to him like, hello, sir. And he kept waving.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, it's got to be a question about either my beard, because I get a lot of questions about the beard.
Yeah.
Or comments. Or about the Bronco, because it's a newer vehicle.
Yeah.
And since it's a guy, a lot of guys want to talk shop.
They get stopped all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
And that recently happened in Vegas, too. The guy
Yeah.
wanted to talk shop. But so I just didn't have my door closed all the way yet. And he kind of came around to the side. And he's like, oh, hey. And I'm like, hey, how are you? He's like, I'm sorry. I thought you were my cousin that I hadn't seen in a long time. And I just wanted to come over and ask you why you hadn't called. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm not your cousin. He's like, well, that's okay. I'm just reaching out to say hi, and you just carry that vibe on with you through the rest of your day.
It was so weird.
I was like, okay.
And what's even weirder about it is that this is a restaurant that some similar stuff like this has happened to us before.
We've had very interesting
I think we've talked about how lady came over and asked for a potato chip off of our plate once, same place. And I was thinking about that earlier before this guy came up. But I do absolutely believe that people are drawn to us. I'm the same way. I would rather use like the self-checkout when I go to the store or whatever. I don't want to talk to anybody. It's just, I'm not mean. I just I'm an introvert, and I'm awkward. So just let me be. But they can't. They can't let me be.
I just constantly get that I look like somebody.
Always.
But that's even without the beard.
Yeah.
When I didn't have a beard, I used to get that all the time.
I think that it happens for a lot of reasons. I think the universe does it to help us interact with people, because it's important for us to interact with people, even if we don't want to. It helps us to learn about ourselves, about other people. It tests us throughout the day. How patient are you going to be? Are you going to be nice to this person? Or are you going to be like, no, dude, I'm not your cousin. Get away from my Bronco. And people could be like that.
Some people are, and I'm not like that.
Yeah, but some people are. And the universe tests us on these things. How patient are you going to be? How kind are you going to be? whatever the situation is. And so when we're met with people like this, I always try to be as kind as I can, even if they're not, because I go, the universe sent this person.
Yeah, and it's a fun memory to have, down the road.
Yeah. Things like that happen to us a lot. We're just like, what happened just now? Like, why did that person talk to us or say that to us? Just really weird, random stuff. So that was actually Jackie that asked that question. And then
Jackie.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. And then she had also put here this was under the, have you ever told someone you can't have them in your life because of how they make you feel emotionally? She answered this to that. I've only ever told one person I can no longer tell them to be in my life. However cowardly maybe, I've cut many out of my life for my own sanity. They just depleted my energy, too needy, and gave nothing back. Even now, I'm very much a recluse because I attract needy people. I think
that's not cowardly.
A lot of us do. No.
I don't look at that as cowardly. I think you're being smart, understanding what your, kind of tolerance level is. You're just being smart.
Yes.
And it's one thing to be a recluse and not let anybody in. Well, then, there might be a situation of being completely alone. I don't think that's good for anybody.
Yeah.
But being selective, I don't think is being cowardly.
I don't think so at all. And I think if you feel like somebody doesn't fit well into your life, that there's no reason why you shouldn't be okay with just separating yourself. You don't have to be like, I hate you, go away. Mm-hmm. Just like you said, just separate yourself. Go your way and they go theirs. And a lot of friendships end like that. And a lot of times it is because the energy just doesn't match up. I always go back to my mom saying, not everybody's going to like you and you're not going to like everybody, and it's okay.
Yeah, it's not what it's supposed to be.
No, absolutely not.
But there are such things as energy vampires, and their needfulness can really suck you dry.
Yes, I in my line of work, I do come across that a lot, and I have to meditate a lot because I do feel very tired a lot of times after there's a lot of dumping that goes on, and I'm happy to help people. I love to help people, but at the same time, it's like, the dumping and the energy vampires, it can be very difficult, and you have to look at yourself as the priority, put yourself first, and not allow this to go on, which is hard because especially, you want to be nice to people and all that and be a good person. It's hard to tell somebody, I just can't do this with you because you make me nervous.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I went through that with the band that I was playing with most recently, and one of the guys that left reached out to me afterwards and was sort of like, maybe we could work on the friendship we never really did. And those kind of things where at one level I respect and appreciate them reaching out in such a way, but to say like that we never did when there were so many things that were shared and said and offered that I just was like, nah, I did this for like 10 years or 9 years, and it's okay to be done.
Yeah, it is.
It's okay. It's okay to just say it just didn't click.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as I wanted it to. Mm-hmm. But I knew that just opening that up outside of anything like a common goal wouldn't be good.
No. So under that, Brittany also left a comment. She said, I have had to do this, especially during a divorce. It was one of the hardest and worst times of my life. I honestly feel lighter and with no regret from cutting toxic ties, and I have grown enough to accept responsibility for less than desirable actions or responses.
Amen.
Currently, I'm going through a really hard time with someone I am or thought I was very close to. I'm not yet sure where the final destination will be for us, growth and healing or separation and disillusion. I'm sorry to hear that, Brittany. It's hard.
I relate to that because I do agree. I think the divorce for me was the hardest one.
Yeah.
But realizing that I literally, and I'm not sugarcoating this, but I'll be blunt, is like I literally had to cut the cancer out of my life.
Yeah.
Had to cut it out.
Yeah.
And that was hard because it was like cutting a part of your body off because It's something I'd known for almost 20 years.
Yep.
But once I did that, my life, I mean, I met Samantha, my life changed extraordinarily. Yeah. And now I have to watch my kid go through it.
And this is something that people, like, I'm going to do on my radio show next week, like a show about finding a soulmate and keeping a soulmate. Because this is one of the areas where this is the hardest, is people that don't want to let go of somebody in a relationship because they're afraid for whatever reason to let go of it. They feel like they have to stay. But the fact is that sometimes the universe pushes you out of relationships so that you can have something better to come to you. But it's like, I don't know, for whatever reason, we've come up with this thing in our minds that when we meet somebody and we fall in love, quote unquote, that we are supposed to stay with them no matter how miserable we are.
Yeah, we're supposed to honor that and just remain miserable.
Right. What's that about? Life is too short for that.
No, and the damage that it does to a child in the middle of it is not honoring anything.
Absolutely.
No, what you're doing is you're keeping that karmic wheel on a steady roll.
Yes.
That's what you're doing.
This whole thing is designed to teach us lessons. This simulation is to teach us and help us grow and all of that. And you said it earlier, relationships are really, really hard. And this is why, though, because we do grow from them and we learn from them. And it's an important part of the process.
We're not supposed to be solitary.
No.
Like that's why there's 7 billion of us around here.
Yep.
And the fact of it is that when I look at this further, is that my belief is that we are all a piece of the creator. Mm-hmm. We're a piece of the source, which means I'm watching you, my neighbor who I don't like his lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I'm watching myself live another life that I can't comprehend.
Right.
But it's me in a mirror image.
That's right.
That's the truth.
It is.
We are all the same. We are all one. And next time I may come back as a female living on the streets under a bridge, homeless.
You might, yeah, absolutely.
Or I could be a wealthy Arab man. Who knows? I don't know. All I know is that the learning is never ending.
Yeah.
It's never ending. And the more that I look at this, the more I see it as like it is. I was saying that to you when we were in the deli before the guy came out and waved at me and thought I was his cousin. I was like, I trip on places sometimes. Like, I know we're all here for a reason because, hey, they got to work. They're waitresses and waiters. And we're customers. We got to eat. But the way we gather and that we're all in this room, and I try to picture how that is in heaven. Mm-hmm. Because, when we're in a diner, you hear all the hustle and bustle and the conversation and the clanking of glasses and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
What is that like, the gathering of souls in heaven? Because you don't have all those elements going on to make this gathering seem like such a gathering.
Right.
I don't know what it is about it, but sometimes I just look at it deeper and I realize that that's me over there.
Yeah. They definitely say that if you see something in somebody that you don't like, you're recognizing yourself in them. Mm-hmm. And that's something for you to work on in your shadow work. So that's an important point too. Like, I try to do that. Like, why am I looking at this person this way? What's, what internally is it that I'm struggling with that I'm seeing this? And that helps you to,
I'd say for sure 9 times out of 10, that could be the case for sure.
Yep. Yep. So let's see a few more of these comments from Sunshine. She says, I've been working on this, but this past year, it's been really hard because it's family. And there is this lingering guilt and fear of lost time if I don't keep them in my life. For example, my mother and I really struggle to get along for longer than a few hours. The verbal abuse and gaslighting makes me question my own reality and memories. And I'm always exhausted after family events that I go home and cry and then sleep for hours dead to the world. Like my fight, flight, freeze, fawn reaction is straight play possum. And it's really bad for my mental health. But like, it's my mom, my only parent that I've had, and I'm the only child. It's always been me and her, and it's so really a struggle for me. I do so much better without her around, and I have so much guilt around that. But if I don't take care of myself, I won't be able to be there for anyone else. That's
a tough one, especially being
so
an only
common
child.
too. Yeah.
I really do have empathy for you there.
This is so common, and actually, we were talking about this the other day that I would like to do an episode, whether here or on my radio show, about toxic mothers.
Yeah.
Because I was raised to believe that it was the man that was the problem, and it's not. I mean, maybe a little bit of the time, but I think 80%, 90% of the time, it's the mom.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
It really is. So, yeah, I got to do a whole episode about that because they can be very toxic and they don't even see it, especially the ones that when you try and confront them on what they did in the past, that they're like, I didn't do that. Well, I'm not making this up. Like, you did. You just don't remember because it was a normal Tuesday for you where it was like, a big part of something that happened to me. And, moms. Yeah.
No, you make a very good point.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see, there were a few more here. Let me get back to this. Nancy S. She said, I don't usually tell them because I do not want to hurt feelings or the confrontation. I just stop being around them. I do have a friend of a friend who is toxic, but in small amounts I tolerate it for my friend, but that person is not invited to my home. That's a tough one because I've been there, where it's like, no, I want to hang out with you, but not so much with your toxic friend.
I've avoided going places because of certain people, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's see. Sherry said, it is difficult to cut people out of your life, especially when you know they care for you and would do anything for you. But I had to make that decision about a friend who was constantly trying to run my life, tell me what and how to do it, and was very critical of me if I didn't agree with everything she said. She even interfered with my marriage, trying to run that. She had to go.
Wow.
Your friends, especially, these are people you pick. They're like your family. You can't pick them, unfortunately.
Right.
But you can pick your friends. And if you have friends that treat you like that, they're not your friends. Like, with friends like that, who needs enemies?
I've had a couple where those situations where the exit, they kind of went to you.
Yeah.
Like you're going to do something to override my decision.
Yeah.
So I found that kind of funny, but yeah.
I don't remember that. I'm sure you can
Chris
tell me
was one.
Oh, Chris was fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Chris
it was like,
toxic.
are you hearing this? Are you,
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah, he
so you
went
don't
off.
think that I don't talk to my wife?
Yeah, people are weird, aren't they? Yep. And then, let's see, Brittany said, I am a very sensitive empath, both emotionally and physically. I feel others' energies and emotions and physical or medical ailments, even with animals. I'm still learning and growing to understand myself and my abilities, and as a nurse, it often comes in handy, but it's draining. Throughout my spiritual awakening, I have noticed that I am able to shield and be less vulnerable to those who are negative, draining, or ill-willed people when I used to seem to be a magnet to them. I love to help and heal others. Since my awakening, I am able to attract like-minded and compassionate people or find myself in situations where I cross paths with positive and inspiring people instead of constantly attracting negative folks.
Cool.
I will say that I've always felt protected and been in very few dangerous situations that make me aware that Spirit Team is always there. Wow. Been in a few situations.
Who was that?
That was Brittany.
Brittany, that's cool.
I totally understand that. Absolutely. As an empath, you absorb everybody's emotions. I like to go out and socialize and do things, but I'd rather go to say a club or a bar where it's just you and I hanging out than going to a party where it's a bunch of people that I don't know, that then I have to absorb their energy. And if you're sensitive to people and you start getting stuff about them, and then it's no, shake the head. No, no personal information. Yeah, no personal information. Don't want to go there. So yeah, it does. It makes it, harder for you to just be around people normally.
Yeah, and you're kind of softer and shyer anyways. So kind of going back to when we first started dating and then the introduction of each other's friends, I had quite a few, just from a lot of history of music and people. So you were kind of overwhelmed with, I don't know who this, I've probably heard, 50 names tonight and I don't know who's who.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was, there was one party that, where your band played that it was like that it's like everybody knows that Danny has a new girlfriend and they want to talk to her and meet her, but I'm the one dealing with, the 50 people.
Right.
And
I
it's
was
a lot. Yeah.
having to do the
Exactly.
music.
You're like, la, 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 la. I'm over here. And everybody's like, so you're Samantha. And I'm like, no, that's Samantha over there, not me. Yeah. Just kidding. Yeah, it does. It gets to be very overwhelming, especially if you feel like negative vibes from people and stuff. I think that on this journey, especially if you're on the spiritual journey, that is a big part of what we're trying to do, is to find our tribe and make our tribe, so that, like, honestly, most of the people that I talk to now are people that I didn't know before the spiritual awakening. It's people that have, like Lori, she commented, and then there's my friend Katie, that they were in my life, but now this has brought them back because it's something that they're interested in and we share and all of that. But yeah, it attracts your tribe to you, but at the same time, because you have that light in you, it can attract the wrong people. And there was somebody that was saying in here that they attract the wrong people, and that's really, really common. But I think that absolutely does not mean that there's anything wrong with you. It might mean that the universe is just testing you to see what you're going to do, how you're going to handle a situation when a person treats you a certain way, or if they are an energy vampire, how are you going to go about this? It's like, I have a close family friend that I love so much, but she is just 10 minutes around her, and it's like, man, I need a nap. Because she has just told me everything that has happened in her life in the last 20 years and not asked me one thing about myself in 20 minutes. And it's hard. You want to keep those people in your life because they're important to you. So you just have to limit the amount of interaction that you have with them, but you can still keep them around,
Yeah. I think that in regards to having this sort of energy that attracts the wrong people, when it comes to relationships, I think that subconsciously we can pick the wrong people.
Yeah.
And this is kind of through my own experience and then others that I've seen and talked to, is I've heard the saying before too, that your first marriage is often kind of like your closest parent.
Yeah.
It mirrors or mimics that relationship somewhat. And I can see that. I can see how people... mine was definitely my first one, but I could see how people might subconsciously pick relationships based on that energy, based on what it feels like.
Yes.
That it's similar, and without even knowing it. If you had maybe they're not physically abusive, but verbally abusive, emotionally abusive parent.
Right.
Then you might seek out somebody that's mean to you.
Yes. My brother is a fixer. He wants to help because that's the way mom was. And so he attracts these women that are looking for somebody to fix them. Yeah. And this is common. This is very, very normal. I don't even think he realizes it so much. He realizes he's a fixer, but, he's attracting this because that's what he puts out. Yeah. So when people say that to me, I attract this, well, that's the law of attraction. That's what you're putting out. He puts out this vibe of, come here, I will fix it. Yeah. And that's very sweet, but that's, not healthy either. No. So we have to put out what we want to attract back, and then we will get those kinds of relationships.
I think the bottom line for me, too, and I think you agree with this, is that this is not a matter of relation or blood or anything. This is about relationships. And you, me, or nobody are obligated by any means of maintaining a relationship with somebody that makes you feel unhappy.
Absolutely.
You're not obligated.
No.
You're not. Now, when that is removed from your life, I also tend to always sort of say never.
Yeah.
Meaning like, so sure. This came to an end, but I'm not going to say this will never, ever come back into my life at some point.
Right.
If it does, I have certain boundaries and ideas about how I want my life to feel. And if it doesn't match that, then I can stick with my original plan.
Right.
But I'm not obligated. Nobody's obligated. That's just right. Because it's your mother. Like when you hear a sunshine story, you go, God, that's tough, man, because you're an only child. And it's just you and your mom. It's all you've known.
Yeah.
I totally get that catch-22 like that you're in, you know.
Yep.
But you've got you.
Right.
And your mom has her own lessons.
Yep.
And that goes for every one of us, you know?
That's right.
Because the next time around, you might be experiencing similar lessons.
Yeah.
Or experience a similar life. So I try to, as much as I can, even the ones that are bringing my energy down or that I have to distance myself, try to not place so much judgment on them and have myself a clearer understanding of, you know, what they've been through.
Yes.
And what's brought them to this place.
Yeah, because we've all been through stuff.
Yeah.
We've all been through it. I think it's important with relationships to be your own best friend, to really know yourself and understand yourself before you can really, really understand anybody else, and before you can allow somebody to really love you the way that you're supposed to be loved. You have to love and appreciate yourself. And I know that I've said it before, but you are the only person that you're with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for your entire life. There's no getting away from yourself. Sometimes I realize that and I go, can I just have 10 minutes from myself? That's all. Just 10. No, you're with yourself forever. Yep. So it's the most important relationship that you have. So in order to keep yourself protected, you have to look at what kind of people you keep around you. You know, you have to ask yourself, I saw this somewhere, I think it was on TikTok or whatever, but it said something like, talk to yourself the way you would talk to your best friend. If you would tell your best friend, if she's, you know, in a relationship and it's toxic, and you would tell her to get out of the relationship, listen to that. Yeah. You know, if you're not going to sit there and put your best friend down and tell her that she's a loser and she's no good or whatever. So why do you say that to yourself?
Yeah, it's true.
So it's really important to have that kind of relationship with yourself. 2 weeks ago, I did an episode on my radio show of toxic relationships. So if you didn't hear that one and you enjoyed this one, that might be one to go back and listen to, because it was good. Really talked about the different types of toxic relationships. And like I said, this week I'll do like a soulmate, like finding your soulmate. And because I think that we do often try and create somebody to be our soulmate and go down that wrong road of like, maybe this is it. There's nobody else out there for me. And so you push.
Force it.
Right. So yeah, do that. Yeah.
Cool.
So there you go.
Very good.
Fabulous.
I liked it.
Yeah, very good. So make some friends.
Yeah.
We have the discussion group, and they love to talk to each other in the group. And so if you're not a member, you can find it on Facebook. It's the Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses discussion group. Yeah. And it's a great bunch. It's where we get all of this stuff from. There's some people that really regularly participate.
Love it.
Yeah, it's fabulous. So
very cool.
Thank you to that group. And yeah, join it if you haven't yet.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, then. Well, before we say goodbye, do you want to share your information one more time?
Yes, you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com for our show too. There, everything's there, right there on the website.
Very cool.
And then you, sir.
For my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yay.
And that's it for me.
Fabulous.
Well, we hope that you guys got something out of it.
That we do.
And go out and, make friends. Good friends.
Yeah. Positive friends.
Good friends are important.
Yep.
And we hope you have a great week.
That we do.
Until next week.
Peace and love.